any ideas for deck lunch topics or speakers or questions, or you yourself would like to speak, please shoot me an email. It's bhyde, B as in Becky, HYDE @Humana. Today, it is my pleasure to present two of my colleagues here in the deck, Sean Coots, Product Manager, and Matt Dobson, Product Designer, to talk about a conversation with Alexa.
Gee, Matt, what are we going to talk about?
Oh man, I don't know. I'm not sure these people want to hear me talk anymore. Why don't we have her do it?
Great idea. Alexa, start the show.
Hey guys, if you want me to do my song and dance, I want some free food. What's for lunch?
Domino's.
Blah. You guys should eat more salad. Hey, I heard a new joke the other day. Wanna hear it?
Only if it's a good one.
It is. What's the best way to keep track of the evolving terminology regarding digital assistants? Use a lexicon.
Ooh. Who taught you that one?
I understand you need some help. At any time, you can issue the following commands. To hear your options again, say repeat options. To hear the entire scene again, say repeat scene. In order to revisit the previous scene, say go back. To skip cast the current
Alexa,
scene
stop.
description.
So we had a fun little song and dance. The punchline was Nick Hill, who was out on maternity leave. Sometimes that happens when you do it live. She is good at jokes. She's good at a few other things. And we kind of wanted to demonstrate as a product what we enjoy about Alexa and what we think is a natural fit. So to do that, I could run through some bits here, or I could just take you inside the Coots household and show you how my family uses it with this video. Alexa, turn on the lamps.
I couldn't find any smart devices on your network in Declan's account. To use smart home features, first, ask me to discover devices.
Alexa, ask Matt Gateball if Conway's going to help us clean up his mess.
The magic baseball says, my reply is no. Alexa, play Feel Right by Mark Ronson.
Please forgive my hideous dance moves, and sorry for the EQ. The audio gets really loud there at the end. All right, so we saw a few things that it does do well. It's really great at controlling smart devices. So instead of using one of those old clappers, I could turn on all my lights with just talking to this thing. You can play games. You can do all sorts of fun stuff with it. What do you do with it at your house, Matt?
We listen to a lot of music, listen to a lot of radio stations from all over, and play some Jeopardy.
So it does some fun stuff, but we also uncovered that it's not quite what the marketing hype would lead you to believe. So Matt's going to show us some of the things it does not do.
So the first thing is we tried to understand how Alexa works and what it's actually capable of compared to all the marketing and hype and all the big ideas we have of what can we do with this new exciting voice interface. First thing we understood is that she doesn't actually speak English. She doesn't know what you're saying. She's just listening for sounds and words that have been pre-programmed in. And the vernacular around this is they're called utterances. So you have to pre-program these utterances. So that means that the skill has to anticipate how the user is going to respond and account for those utterances. Otherwise, if something's misheard or not, as you guys saw earlier, you can get an error or a help message. She's not much for small talk. People get really frustrated. We've had people in and out doing usability testing some of the different ideas that we've had here, and people get really frustrated when they think that they can have a conversation with it, which when you see the commercials and even you do some basic interactions like asking how the weather is and asking for a joke, you get that sense that this is going to be a conversation. In reality, if you go off script, there's nothing there. Either you get an error or something unexpected.
As we just saw.
So really what we have here is a device that allows us to give voice control much more so, or voice menu selection than actually a conversational interface. She doesn't work well alone. So there are very few pure voice experiences that are really rich. A lot of the ones we've seen are pretty limited. Users need the companion Alexa skill app to be able to do even fundamental things like adding something or removing something from a to-do list or managing a shopping list. If you have multiple alarms, managing those. So some kind of real, like fundamental level stuff still require another interface. And many of the skills that we've seen that have gotten a lot of press and a lot of hype, like Uber and Domino's, etc., require a web app or an application to work with them. So like with the Domino's app, it's like, oh, you can ask Alexa to order a pizza to your house. Well, first thing you got to do is go on their website, pick out that exact pizza, give them your address and phone number, and the only thing you can do with Alexa is get that specific pizza delivered to that specific location. If you want to make changes, back to the website you go. So how do we design for voice, right? So we're designers, and as designers, our primary thing we think about are visual interfaces. When we think about software, we've got menus and buttons and all the different tools of the trade. What does that mean when you're designing for something where none of that's present? I think really what it comes down to is a lot of writing and a lot of listening. So listening to how what you're writing actually sounds and how it sounds when Alexa says it. There's some tools they have in their developer folder that lets you hear it in her voice. You make some strange decisions based on sentence structure. You sometimes have to be very specific to give her rules around how you mark up, how you want things to be said. If you want a number said as a phone number or or a date or however that is, or if you want to have just a specific pronunciation. I think Cody mentioned last week that like the way she says humana isn't the way we say humana, so you have to give it proper accents to make that come across the right way. And really, our design deliverables and design documents ended up looking a lot more like engineering, like flowcharts and architecture documents than they do an interface. Because we are a human-centered design practice and we get our work in front of real people to get real responses and understand what's working and what's not, my first concern when starting on this project for the Amazon Echo is how do we test this? How do we prototype this? How do we get this in front of people to really use in a way that we can get meaningful feedback? So, one way we thought we could do that is work straight to code, which I think you could do that, but I think that it may limit that kind of like daily and weekly iteration that we're accustomed to, being able to change things and adapt on the fly, slow down the process a little bit. We looked to see if there were any commercial voice prototyping tools available. There are a few. None of them are very mature, and I think the ones that we saw that were the most mature were actually frustrating both from a design perspective and then from a user perspective by kind of overcomplicating the invocations and just generally being disappointing. Another thing we tried is like, okay, we can just fake this. We can have like a man behind the curtain thing. We find some way to deliver this voice through a speaker. We hear how people respond to it. We use that to guide us. Our engineers on our team, Cody and Roy, took it another step further and said, okay, we can actually make a skill that does that, where you can send it text and you'll get the text transcription back of what the user says. So we thought, okay, this is going to be a great place to start. We found some limitations in that too. One thing is that understanding when these error states are actually triggered and understanding when utterances don't work is just as important as capturing what people are saying, so you're really getting the idea of that real experience, that real skill. We had some other technical limitations with like not allowing for the pauses that are natural in people's conversation, having things time out, having to reset the skill. But that kind of man behind the curtain approach didn't seem to get us quite to where we needed to be, so we needed something else. So we came across a tool as we were trying to acquaint ourselves with like all the things that Amazon was doing and the different tools that it was giving developers as they were promoting their Amazon Skills Kit, and found a really rudimentary tool that they put together for making adventure games, kind of like Zork or The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy text adventure games, like turned over to voice. So this tool was really very basic, and our guys devoted their engineering effort to improving the capabilities of this prototyping tool, which ended up giving us something where we could very quickly iterate, like not only like these like weekly iterations for user testing, but that we can make changes on the fly to how a response was. So even in a user test, we could say, okay, here's another scenario, here's another day, quickly change the type, and as soon as we were introducing it, and then play back a new scenario to that person. So, and the biggest thing is it gave us the opportunity to use usability testing with a real working skill. So we had, if something wasn't unrecognized, we gave an unrecognized response. If they quit early, we gave them the appropriate exit response. So everything worked in the way that will actually work when it's live, just minus any connection to actual like data or intelligence on the back end. So all of that said, just to talk about the limitations that are here, we still see that there's a great deal of capability and potential opportunity for us to develop real skills that would be meaningful for Humana. I think Sean's going to pull back the curtain here a little bit on how this tool works.
So if you remember what we said earlier, Alexa, I'll mute it first. Alexa, start the show.
Hey guys, if you want me to do my song and dance, I want some free food. What's for lunch?
Little Caesars.
I'm sorry,
Uh-oh.
what's for lunch?
Amazon, stop. So as you can see, this is not a conversation, as we also displayed earlier when it bombed out on us. But we programmed Domino's and Papa John's just to hedge our bets in case Becky ordered Papa John's instead again. But as you can see, we're building the conversation in this tool and then trying to test with users to figure out what they might reply with. It's very, very linear environment. And we thought a lot about like how does it sound natural to just in a conversation get the thing to invoke. So we named it start the show. I think start is the actual like command that tells it to look for a third-party skill. So we just named it the show, which is kind of tricky to come up with when you see what all Amazon is locked down that you can't use. So we were pretty proud of that. So this tool just lets us rapidly on the fly build out these interactions. And this is just a very linear flow. It's got one direction, but we certainly built a few things that chain and have trees. And Matt's going to show you one of those now.
Okay, when we were trying to think, or actually when this was brought to us, one of the thoughts of like, where do you start with designing a voice interaction in a place that makes sense? Well, there is an existing voice interaction through IVR calls, and there's some inbound IVR calls that go out to people with congestive heart failure to ask them about their symptoms, and if there are exacerbations, and that puts them in contact with a care manager. These are on a weekly or monthly frequency. In addition to that, we're exploring CHF and the work that Humana is doing in that space. Another exciting thing is this connected scale project. So there's 4,500 of these connected scales of people with congestive heart failure can weigh on these, and if something is trending in the wrong direction, then their doctor or caregiver or care manager is notified, and then action is taken. So can we take these two existing experiences, connect those in a way that this can become a part of people's habit and their routine and exist in their home, and then give them a connection to their care manager, and also give them some meaningful feedback from the scale, which when nothing's going wrong is a bit of a black box. And so this skill that we're going to quickly demo here imagines that someone has woken up in the morning, they've weighed in on their scale, and then they're activating this to get some feedback and potentially get in contact with their care manager. Alexa, open Healthy Heart.
Welcome to Healthy Heart by Humana. What's your personal ID number?
3028.
Good morning. It's nice to hear your voice again. Thanks for weighing yourself today. Your weight looks normal and there's nothing to worry about. Would you like me to check your symptoms or contact your care manager?
Check my symptoms?
Okay. I'll ask you a few simple questions to let your care manager know how you're feeling. Is extra fluid making your belt area tighter?
No.
That's good news. Here's another question. Have you had to stop to catch your breath more than usual?
No.
Good. I'm glad to hear it. One last question. Have you stopped taking any of your medications without talking to your doctor?
Yeah.
If you have questions or are having trouble with your medications, your care manager can help. I'll let your care manager know you're having trouble. They will follow up with you later today. Thanks for using Healthy Heart by Humana. I hope you have a healthy day.
So you can see how that gives a more, I think, personal, conversational touch to this kind of what can be a bit of a transactional interaction with people, and can create this more meaningful interaction being in people's homes. Another thing that's cool, just point out, even if it's just from a technical feature perspective, is that as people become more accustomed to using these things and understand the ins and outs, you can introduce ways to kind of skip the introductions on these things and not have to listen to the same options over and over again. So you can do these straight shot invocations. So I could say, Alexa, tell Healthy Heart I'm having trouble with my medication.
Okay. I'll let your care manager know you have a question about your medication. They will follow up with you later today. Thanks for using Healthy Heart by Humana. I hope you feel better. Goodbye.
So that was our CHF experiment. So after we kind of tested that one out, we pivoted to a use case for dementia. One of the things we observed with members with dementia was that they have trouble communicating with their family. Their family members and caregivers have trouble sometimes communicating with them due to memory issues. So we wanted to try and build a skill that would make it easier for there to be kind of a one-way communication channel for the family members to kind of touch in and make sure that everybody's doing okay and provide some interaction there. So let's switch that. And the way we did that is we built a system that gives each patient's Alexa device a unique number.
Searching. I don't see anything to connect.
Sorry.
Check the device you'd like to use and make sure Bluetooth is turned on. To
So
set
to
up a new
demo
device, go to your Alexa
Alexa,
app.
stop. Sorry about that. Every time. Every time. My apologies. So one of the ways that they can do this is they can just send a text message. So I'm going to do that live now to this number we have, Decca. And Cody is going to leave a voicemail somewhere in the room. So I got a response back that says, you wrote, and I won't ruin the surprise, you can reply yes or no, and we'll send this message.
So this is just
Yes.
using SMS. This is like your
Mhm.
basic, this is your text on your phone. It's not a separate app or anything else.
Right. We wanted to make the communication channel as simple as possible for any caregiver or family member that might participate in this friends and family study. So I get a confirmation that it's been sent. So now, it's Cody. Cody, you got it? Awesome. So if I, Alexa, open message box.
Hello, welcome to Message Box. I can play back memories and messages for you. You have 2 messages. You have a voice message from Cody. Would you like to listen to it now?
Yes.
Hey, John, man, this is Cody. Hope your presentation's going well. Thanks.
You have a note from Sean. Would you like me to read it to you?
Yes, please. Yes.
I'm sorry.
Hey, John, man, this is Cody. Hope your presentation's going well. Thanks.
This is what
You have a
happens when you
note
try
from
and
Sean.
demo live software.
Would you like me to read it to
sometimes.
you?
Yes.
Hi, Deck Lunch crowd. Fingers crossed that this works. That's all of your messages for today.
Better late than
Back
never.
later for more. Have a great day.
So that's something that we're trying out. Usually works. I think I just said, I shouldn't have said please after. Sorry for being polite, Alex. Let's mute you before I trigger that again. So, as you can see, we're experimenting. All of these are prototypes in this state, but we're hoping to learn what is the most effective way that we as Humana can use this as a channel to get directly in people's homes and build something that's personal. As it stands, DH&A is still an issue with their cloud platform, so we can't release anything that ties back to Humana accounts at the moment, but we're certainly experimenting and trying to see what all is possible. Certainly the notion of connected scales and any sort of peripheral device that we can kind of connect to this thing so that it functions as kind of a brain for all of your devices that help report back health metrics and whatnot. Certainly that's an interesting use case and one we feel that would be a good one. Right now though, I'd like to open up if anybody has any questions. Matt Blabber.
So typically here at DAC, people bring us business problems, and it's up to us to kind of fully understand the problem and decide what technology best supports solving that problem. And in this case, it seems like you'll rely on a piece of technology, whereas to fully understand the technology, decide what business problems it best could solve for. And how did that sort of change your approach to this project?
Great question. But we can both take this one, I think.
Can you repeat the question?
Yeah, Matt was asking, usually in our projects here, a business case is presented, and then we determine the technology to solve the actual problem. And in this case, we were more running an experiment to understand the technology and trying to find a problem that kind of fit the technology to better understand it. Certainly, it altered a little bit on how we typically work. I think Matt and I have done a lot of research about dementia because before this, I wasn't very familiar with that condition. We very much, because of that, started with something that we did understand a little bit better, which was the CHF use case. It was already an existing voice technology, as Matt had mentioned earlier. We were just looking for ways that we could use this as a channel and not so much replicate that, but take the things we understood from that that worked well and apply it here. So we at least got to use an actual business case of sorts to try and uncover what this thing was capable of.
I think there's some known and established business value surrounding that. Now, when we talk about something like dementia, I think that the direct business value that's a little bit less understood. And that actually came out of an initial friends and family study where I think 8 families were given echoes without any sort of skill on them, just to get to observe and get an idea of basic use. And a surprising thing that came out of that was that 2 of the people involved in this group were people with dementia, and then they actually responded really positively to having the device. And so then we're like, how do we, if this is potential for connection, what do we do there? I think that part of our job is to develop an opinion about where these things, where it may be effective, and that regardless of what these things we're looking at specifically, that a lot of the lessons we're learning have a broader implication, and that we can apply those learnings back to any other business problem. Like, we're already good at business problem now with the understanding we've got through exploring these couple of skills. I think we'd be able to give a much more educated answer as to how we might tackle that. So yeah, it was a little bit switched, but I think we can approach it from the opposite perspective now. Antonio?
Yeah, thanks. I'd like to add, Matt, in response to your question is, I think the experimental nature of this work aligns to the lab's purpose of being a technology and experience incubator for the company as opposed to our traditional product engagements. So it really is kind of about breathing new life into that and trying to make sense of the experience and the staff on behalf of the other ones.
And through all of it, we're keeping the people who are making the software at the center of that experimentation. It started in people's homes. It came into the lab where we did usability testing to make sure that we really understood the fundamentals of this interaction. And now, as this message box skill is back in people's homes, and we're looking to push to a wider pilot to understand how people are going to really interact with this, hypothetical, or still feels hypothetical skill.
Yes.
So I have 2 questions. One, does it work with traditional telephone lines? So like if I provide an office calling a physical line to another, the IVR is calling it to another, and in this IVR.
The device itself is not telephonic as of yet. I've seen that potentially on the roadmap they'll release new hardware that does have telephonic capabilities. But right now, our number kind of functions as a placeholder for you to send texts and SMSs and leave voicemails too, and this just plays it back. But the device itself, no, it's not telephonic yet. What was the second question?
Second how does it interact with the main data? Being that a cloud service, like said, like how does it integrate with the main data?
That one I'm gonna put to Cody. He's talking about that. How does it get to the cloud?
Like, if you were to get a number data, Alexa were to get a number data, so Alexa is in cloud, so how does it integrate in the cloud?
So essentially, Alexa is hosted in Lambda function. So we can power Alexa and use Lambda, and we can get member data, and we can get it on our services from Lambda, and storing and storing the Lambda function. So does that make sense?
It's a real-time integration with the
Yes.
services.
Yeah, it would be nice.
Anyone else? Oh,
So, there's a big project in the organization around natural language in the IVR system, that's come up with a lot of bumps along the road.
with
And-
Watson, right? Does that use
Well,
Watson?
I don't think it uses Watson, it may, but I haven't heard Watson associated with it, but it's meant to, improve to understand and improve the conversation within IVR that gets to the call center. And I'm just curious, they've had a lot of bumps, I'm curious if you had talked to them or anything like that, because it's been a challenge, a lot of frustration has been created. Kind of in one of those examples is something like where you said, yes, please. It's supposed to take that into account and be able to accommodate.
And certainly, it's not easy, as
Yeah.
you can tell. I think I spoke to somebody on one of those teams that's doing something with Watson that it was meant purely to handle how the call was routed. So it was supposed to learn from what people say on the onset of the conversation and direct them to the proper place, and that's all that it did. I'm not aware of the other thing that's going on with natural language processing, but certainly would be interested to chat with those guys.
Yeah, they're implementing it now in pharmacy. It's in the medical IVR system. And they've actually stopped a little bit of that work, a bit of a pause for a moment, but it is being implemented in pharmacy. So it may be one of those things that you all can like learn along the way where their challenges were, to kind of enhance that. This work, like what's the failures in IVR that could be our same challenges.
Yeah, that'd be great.
And one other thing is that, I think there is a problem that needs to be solved with this technology, for Humana.
Some would say many.
Yeah, many, exactly. And, there's a lot of work going on within the Fast Start Lab and service experience that is ideating around this. So I think we have some potential customers that can give you some other use cases.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Send them our way. We'll have a conversation.
So it was our team who did the Watson project POC.
Oh, you were on that one?
Yeah.
Awesome.
So we contacted that with the telecom, Watson. So there were certain limitations with Watson in terms of like, the speech model has some limitations, can understand only US, cannot understand US business main voices. So we faced some limitations on that, and then within the natural language processing, so we had difficulty, in creating ICD codes. And it was always confusing that with regular codes, codes. Do you think that would be a challenge, for Alexa?
Oh yeah, and like Matt was talking earlier, everything is based around the utterance itself, and even with that, if you know everything they're going to say, Amazon does not always do well with accents or low volume voices. It struggles. As a product, it's still maturing, and they improve it continuously. But there are certain things that just you're going to encounter a lot of bumps. Certainly. Anyone else? All right. Cody?
What features are you wanting to add to
I'm sorry, I didn't catch that.
what features are you looking to add? Any features?
So, Cody wants to know if we can make the prototyping tool even better. What would we do? I think for me, as the designer, it's taking in the idea of like doing a lot of listening and understanding how what you're writing sounds, to be able to have that play back within the skill, because when you're testing a skill, especially if you've gone pretty deep on a conversation tree, getting back to the point that you want to hear again from the beginning can be a pretty frustrating and slow experience. So being able to go to the point in the skill that you want to hear that bit of an interaction and play back just a chunk of that and do a piece of an interaction, I think is what would make it like even more robust and a skill where you don't have to go from this design tool, but essentially what it is, into a developer environment and back, or actually to the device.
And also, I'm going to write a story for you to do this. Make this thing the thing you see first. Every time you click this, it's like, oh, no, go here. So lots of ways to click that will change. Anybody else? All right. Thanks, everybody.